In episode number 411 of the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, we cover Ray Fisher's recent comments about Joey Whedon.
We also have the latest additions to HBO Max coming this month.
And our comic book highlight this week, as chosen by you, is Dragon Ball Super Volume 9.
All of this and so much more on today's show.
Hello and welcome to the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, bringing you the reasons we're broke every single week, ranging from comics, movies, TV, video games, and more. I am your almighty Emperor Kelli.
And I am Team Aqua Grunt Daniel.
Down there doing the grunt work, fighting these 10-year-olds with your Pokemans.
Gotta work back up.
For those of you joining us for the very first time, the way we format the show is first we're going to go through some news. We have our Patreon shoutouts, our comic book highlight, and we wrap it up with the Brocat Block, which is what happened with Daniel and I this week.
Why did we win last year?
Because we're awesome?
The podcast awards?
Yeah.
Okay, we won so that we can mention that we're the award-winning The Reasons I'm Broke podcast, and you didn't say it today. The week that we need everyone to vote in and nominate us for the 4th year in a row. And you don't mention we're nominated.
In my defense, what time did I wake up this morning?
3 or 4 in the morning, and we didn't record last night so that you can get more sleep so that we can record today's episode, and this got forgotten.
Okay, it's
that
still
we're award winners.
I'm sorry, let me scratch that. None of this just happened. Hello and welcome to the award-winning The Reasons I'm Broke podcast.
Thank you.
We won last year because you all came out, you nominated us, you voted for us. We cannot thank you enough, but it is that time of year again.
And we're going to have more details for that in the Brocat Block, but let's jump right into the news.
HBO, that amazing service, that is it. Mm-hmm. The best streaming service. Am I redeeming myself now?
You're starting to.
The best streaming service that you could possibly get, HBO, has ordered an 11th season of Curb Your Enthusiasm, which would put the show at over the 100th episode mark.
Very well earned and very well deserved. Larry David had this to say, quote, "Believe me, I'm as upset about this as you are. One day I can only hope that HBO will come to their senses and grant me the cancellation I so richly deserve," end quote.
That was your best Larry David voice?
I cannot do Larry David or Seinfeld or... I don't practice my Jew voice. That's not something that I do. I think very few Mexican Americans do that.
You would be the first. You should. This is what will get us the win, Daniel.
I don't know. Or a guaranteed loss. So what do you think? This is, from what I've heard, he's been on HBO for so many years. I remember back when, how long this has been going on to any of the younger Brocat Core members is when I used to go to Blockbuster, there was a wall of Curb Your Enthusiasm DVDs for the seasons. This isn't a show like, yeah, it's going to hit its 11th season, but it's not a show that went on for 11 years straight. There were some years where there was no season. He only does them as he gets time and as he writes them down. And HBO is happy to just let him work on them as long as he wants, whenever he wants, with apparently whatever budget that... They probably just give him a number and they're like, here, make your show. Here's the money.
I'm sure it doesn't really cost them anything. Like, he just needs some people to edit, but it's mostly just him going out there in one take. And like the real world, it's not like he probably gets his clothes from off the rack at Walmart or something.
Well, it does cost him the most, from what I understand, to film in LA because he actually does film in California, and that's where most of that cost probably comes from. But most of his cast, they're his friends, they're his buddies, so they're happy to come back and continue to work on this show with him.
Well, it's absolutely hilarious. I know I hear you cracking up every single time that you're watching it, and you're just like, oh, what would Larry David do? And of course, that's where we get the iconic song of dun, 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 dun.
I'm glad JB Smoove is still in there, too.
Oh, yeah. He's a plant, yeah?
In Harley Quinn, yeah. Yeah, but in here, they didn't need to have the rest of his family in there, but they kept writing JB Smoove into it, where he just moves in with Larry, and it's like, all right, that works, and I was happy.
He's hilarious. Do you think in this 11th season, they'll make some nod to him being a plant?
I doubt it. No, Harley Quinn, Larry does not give a shit about Harley Quinn or any of the other stuff. He's just going to write what he thinks is hilarious. And JB Smoove is going to keep doing his thing. He's going to be an amazing character in this still, along with the rest of the crew that have been there since, many of which have been there since season 1.
Since Blockbuster was around. Something else that is making a comeback, according to Deadline, Nickelodeon is bringing the TMNT back to the big screen through an all-new CGI film.
This is expected to be a reimagining of the Turtles now that the live-action movies appear to be finished. And the last time they had one of these was in 2007, I believe. I was working at AMC at the time, and I ended up falling asleep during the movie, so I never finished it. But I know it didn't really spawn any more sequels after that.
So are they talking, I know because they just reimagined the Turtles, so it's a reimagining of what was on Nickelodeon recently?
Well, this is separate from whatever show now is going on, which is Rise of the TMNT. And I don't follow TMNT so much that I don't know if that show is still going on or not. Last time I checked, it was. But regardless, this is the cinematic properties for Nickelodeon of the TMNT. So, for example, like when the Michael Bay ones were still going on, they still had the cartoons. So they're treating this like that, I would assume, where this is still a cinematic version, a reboot that is separate from what's happening on TV.
I'm actually pretty excited for this, and I think mostly because Leo loves it so much, so I'm like, oh man, a movie we could take Leo to, and he'll probably sit through it by that point.
That's true. Yeah, whenever these end up coming out, I think they're not going to be the first Turtles for him, the first movies. We've shown him the live action one that I grew up on, but it might be one of the first Turtles that he sees in the theaters on the big screen.
Right, one of the first big screen movies. Yeah, for sure.
I know people are going to talk, or they've already talked about how another reboot, another reimagining, but honestly, where else can you go from here? People didn't like the Michael Bay ones did fine, and I like the sequel more than the first one, but they're not going to want any more of that, apparently. They're not going to want the recent one, which is more aimed at, I think, a younger generation than people like you or I. know it definitely didn't catch us, but the one previous to Rise of the Turtles, which was the Nickelodeon one, that one ran for many, many years, and I think it kind of told its story and ran its course, so you have to do some kind of reimagining or reboot.
You're talking about the one that Leo watches now?
Yes.
It's so good. It was so, especially, and we kind of fell off, in the third season, I think?
I think so,
But the first 2 seasons were just so well put together, and we loved the Turtles, and we loved what they did with the characters, and I thought the pacing was great. So if they can give us something else like that on the big screen, I'm all for it. Do the Spider-Man movie, Miles Morales Spider-Man movie, but the turtle version.
Like Into the Spider-Verse type of thing?
Yeah.
They've done that. They did that in that Nickelodeon show.
Okay, but I'm just saying make it that good.
Okay, I gotcha. So make it like a Oscar-nominated type of...
So something kids and adults will really enjoy.
That's a good idea.
See, I'm full of good ideas. You don't see it often.
Another one that looks amazing, and the trailer just dropped this last week, was David Ayer's The Tax Collector. Trailer went up on YouTube, and we are absolutely going to talk about it.
Do not test that.
Whoa. Guys look like a couple of monsters.
What the hell, man?
Yeah, but I'm at peace with that.
The synopsis reads, quote, David, Bobby Soto, and Creeper, Shia LaBeouf, are tax collectors for the crime lord Wizard, collecting his cut from the profits of local gangs' illicit dealings. But when Wizard's old rivals return to Los Angeles from Mexico, the business is upended, and David finds himself desperate to protect what matters more to him than anything else, his family, end quote.
The film stars Bobby Soto, known for Narcos Mexico, Shia LaBeouf from Honey Boy, and George Lopez from The George Lopez Show.
He was also in Harley Quinn.
Yeah, and Shark Boy and Lava Girl. 3D. I like George. He's great, but he definitely stuck out like crazy during this trailer.
Yeah, but I'm gonna hold out hope that he can do so. And I think probably part of that problem is because we're so used to seeing him in those roles.
Yeah,
of being the funny guy, of lightening things up, and maybe he kills a few guys. I don't know.
That would be badass if he was actually like this crazy gangster, and you see him and firing off and killing some people, that'd be great. I think he's going to be the comedic relief, and that's fine. He's a comedian, right? But he definitely was like, it was like I was immersed in it. And then I see George Lopez. I'm like, what the fuck? George Lopez is in this.
What was it that he said?
I don't remember.
You guys,
we only saw the
you guys
trailer
are
once.
monsters.
Something like that, yeah. What'd you think of this first trailer?
I thought it looked really good.
Yeah.
Excited to see it. It's interesting seeing Shia LaBeouf because I still think of him as, what's his name, from Even Stevens, and I'll probably always think of him as that kid, but seeing him this and really looking at how much he's grown over the last 20 years and how much he's really developed as an actor, I think he's gonna kill it. I think there's going to be a lot of really heavy scenes in this, especially because they steal his family. And I was like, oh, no, you don't steal family. Like,
right.
Where's Leo? I got to hold him now, right? So, yeah, definitely excited to see it. I'm holding out hope for George Lopez. I think he's going to kill a few people. It's going to be great.
You think he's going to be the big surprise in the film, the underrated actor?
Maybe.
The scene stealer?
You know what's going to be great is if he's the old rival from Mexico.
That'd be like a crazy twist.
Yeah,
and
then he's just making us laugh this whole time. And then he's like, boom, it's me. I'm stealing all your shit.
One of the criticisms that I saw, and I feel like I can speak to this, was from, I'm assuming, other Latino Twitter users that were saying, David, you have Shia LaBeouf as, he plays this Mexican gangster type in the film, and they were trying to get more clarification out of it. And David said, yes, it is a white boy that grew up in those LA streets and therefore has grown up in that culture of La Raza and everything else. So he grew up with these people and grew up in that same culture. And you see that in any type of street environment or anywhere you work. I mean, anytime you hang out with someone, for example, that has an accent and you're with them for a week, even, you start picking up some of that. And that's just a minute version of it. But for him, he was saying that this is a character that grew up completely all his life in this area. So he is a part of that. And that's what his character that he wrote is. And that's why, to him, he felt he didn't, because they were saying you should have put a Mexican actor in that role. And he's saying, but this isn't a Mexican character. It's a white character that grew up in this area, and because of that, he's in that culture and he's a part of it. So, and I know I didn't have a problem watching the trailer and saying, why is it a lead white actor? To me, it seems like Bobby Soto is the main character, and that's where the the big family aspect to it is focused on him. So I think he's still primarily the lead, at least to me. So I don't really know where this, I guess, well, you know what? You see that a lot now in all these movies. Anytime it's an actor voicing maybe a character that is of a different, you saw that with The Simpsons, and you're seeing that with Family Guy now, where they're trying to get the actors that are that color play the character that is that color, which is kind of funny because that used to happen in old comics back in the Silver Age, where they said, well, this is a female character, so that's for the female writers. And now, that's viewed, it's like when you say it that way, it's like, that's kind of weird, but that's what's happening now. It's like, oh, here's this black character for the black actor. And there's a whole conversation that can happen out of that. But all I'm trying to say is, me as a Mexican American, that never went across. And I'm still maybe in that mental state of, I'm just happy that I'm represented in any way, even if it's through LA gangs. I'm not even from LA, but just to see a part of our culture represented up there. And in a film from a director who grew up in Mexico, who was born in Mexico, like, that's really cool. That, to me, gives it a lot more credibility, I think. I don't know if you have anything to say on any of this.
I am not Mexican.
You birthed half of one.
I did birth one. I think it is cool. I think he's, of course, because he has that background in who he is. And I really like that he stood up and said, no, this is who the character is. Like, I'm not just doing this to be an ass. I'm not just doing this because, like, I wrote this whole story with this in mind because this is real shit that goes on. And the people who are going to have a problem with that are people who don't understand and who aren't living in that culture to say, oh, yeah, this is a real thing. They're going to say, no, why are you? And it's like, well, then you don't know. You're just trying to raise a fuss to raise a fuss. You don't understand. We
got your back, David Ayer, not only because of the other films he's done, like The Town and Suicide Squad, but he's been a huge supporter of his fellow filmmakers like Zack Snyder. So I am excited to watch The Tax Collector. It is set to release next month on August 7th in select theaters and on demand and digitally. So you take your pick on however you want to watch The Tax Collector, however you want to support David Ayer's latest film, and we will have a review for you right here on the podcast.
Something you also know we're going to review right here on the podcast is the Snyder Cut of Justice League. But as if Justice League wasn't already bad enough, the plot has thickened this week.
Piping hot tea, as you put it?
Piping hot, scalding hot, this tea. And we haven't even waited for it to cool off before we've brought it to you. Justice League actor Ray Fisher openly criticized director Joseph Whedon's behavior during the filming reshoots.
Ray said via Twitter, quote, Joss Whedon's on-set treatment of the cast and crew of Justice League was gross, abusive, unprofessional, and completely unacceptable. He was enabled in many ways by Jeff Johns and John Berg. Accountability is greater than entertainment, end quote.
That's some pretty strong accusations right there.
It's huge, and I think this is going to continue to open the door and open the floodgates to the truth on more of what happened in the Justice League reshoots.
Fisher also previously retracted his comments from a panel at Comic-Con from a few years back where he apprehensively supported Joseph.
Yeah, that clip has been around for a little while, and he's pretty short about it, where he's like, oh, Joss is a great guy, and Zach picked a great person. And you just see the rest of the crew kind of like not even barely agreeing. Yeah. And you can just tell that, and people speculated a lot, and they wouldn't say it until recently with Ray Fisher opening up, but they're like, they were fulfilling a mandate and doing what they had to do to get this film out there, because this was before the movie even came out, and it's like, let's just get this done. Now we're looking back on some of Ben's comments about filming the movie, and we're reading in between the lines where he's talking about how difficult the reshoots were. He says that shooting Justice League was much more difficult, and that he had a great time on BVS with Zach. So that, tells you a lot. And I think we're all waiting to see what else comes out from the rest of the crew. And here's where some people were saying that it didn't make sense, where, of course, everyone criticized this tweet as saying, well, why is he coming out with this now? Or what kind of details does he have? Should we really believe him? And it's like, what does Ray have to gain at this point? Joss is fired. He's gone. He's not working on another film for the DCEU. Mm-hmm. It doesn't make sense for him to lie about this, because what is he gaining? Joss isn't hurting anymore. He's no longer involved at all in this. This is a matter of Ray wanting the truth to be out there, and the truth being that he was a reprehensible person to work with, and he has a history of this already. So this is history, just backs up what Ray is saying, and he is risking his career by saying all of this, which again tells me that there's no reason for him to. It only goes against him to make this up, as people are, of course, speculating. And these individuals that, who knows what camp they're from or where they're coming from, but someone put up that perfect tweet of, sure, Black Lives Matter, let's help the African-American community and believe the victim, unless it's Joss Whedon. And it's like, see, this is where the fucking, when it's the DCEU or these characters, or when it involves a particular director or actor or person that you happen to like, then you'll start not believing these things, right? It's a goddamn circus.
Well, and exactly like you said earlier, yeah, he's going to support it to try and get the movie out there back when he was doing these panels. And then now 100% you're getting the Snyder Cut, right? The film that they wanted is coming out.
Mm-hmm. It's already coming.
Right. And he definitely knows that's going to happen. So if he's going to bring it out, now is the perfect time. Except for his career, there's no repercussion for the movie or any of the actors that he's with for him to come out and say, no, this man is terrible. And even if only one or two other studios, like even if he doesn't, if somebody listens, right? And even if that's one person and Joss doesn't get one person, and ideally everybody listens and everybody says, no, you need to straighten your shit up or you need to go. But even if he just stops some people from getting hurt in the same way, then he's done something.
And as you mentioned, that his career, of course, is at risk by doing this, where there's a chance of us getting that Cyborg film now that Zack Snyder's Justice League is coming out. So it benefited him to just keep his mouth shut and not say anything, especially when the other bigger names like Gal and and Jason and everyone, Henry, Ben, weren't really saying anything quite like this to this level of he was straight up about this.
Mm.
Him having that chance of having that solo film and risking it for this is huge. And I think it shows the bravery that Ray has for this, the loyalty he has to his fellow crew and to Zach as well. And hopefully this is the start. I hope the rest of someone else comes out from the Justice League film and backs him up as well and says, yes, I'm confirming what Ray said. This is what happened. And I think this is really just the start of it. And I think what makes me so proud of the Snyder Cut movement especially is as soon as this came out and we were retweeting and finding the old articles that confirm some of his old behavior, such as the allegations that he locked Gal Gadot in the filming room and refused to let her out unless she did that scene of Flash falling on her chest, and she refused to film it, so they got the stunt double instead, and you can see that when you watch the film. All kinds of weird shit like that. Him threatening to take over Wonder Woman 2 if Gal didn't say the ADR lines like he wanted. All of this alone, it makes me proud that the movement then went, okay, for him coming out and exposing Joss for who he is, we're going to make Cyborg trend and we're going to push to get him his film. That's what makes all of this so positive. That's what makes when the truth comes out and more of this gets confirmed and we get more accounts of this, we need to reward the actors and the people that came forward from the beginning, from the start. And one of them was Ray, who from the start was a huge supporter of Zack Snyder.
You were talking about Whedon's history of poor behavior, but it does date back all the way to the filming of Angel, where he butted heads with Charisma Carpenter after she became pregnant ahead of season 4.
She was eventually written out to where fans didn't like the way she was written out, and it was very abrupt. Whedon since has been criticized for his handling of characters when it comes to pregnancies and fertility and rape.
Just a trash person.
We will, of course, update all of you on more of this as it releases, but here's where I was like, all right, I think this is where my relationship with our friend Jeff has to start being questioned, right? Because he very specifically says that he was enabled by Jeff Johns, and that's a fucking shame. That's a damn shame because now it seems like truly all of these things that were speculated about with Jeff and Ben and what he did to the whole production and to the DCEU as a whole, to David Ayer's Suicide Squad with the rewrites, and then to the abomination that ended up being Justice League. It's coming out that he's not, it's confirming many things of him not being a great person. And I know this is something that people have been saying for a long time, but the truth hasn't come out quite in this way as it did with Ray's tweet. And now it's like there's no denying that some of these behaviors were being allowed to happen by Jeff Johns, and that's a fucking shame. And as much as we love his Green Lantern books and his comics are great, and I like Doomsday Clock, the filming side of it is not something I can support and not something I might have to have just one final conversation with Jeff. And if it doesn't go right, well, then I am sorry.
Then you're out. It's extremely unfortunate. And I won't even say the worst part of it, but you're never going to get Jeff's side of that story, right? And it's always going to kind of be a he said, she said, but my heart wants to go in the right place and say, maybe somebody kind of instructed Jeff and be like, nope, this is the behavior you have to get things done. This is what you have to do. And realistically, how much experience did he have walking into the filming world, right? It could have been a case of he took advice from people that he shouldn't have, but regardless, he did allow the behavior to continue, and that should have been something he should see and say, you can't talk to people that way in any capacity. I don't care what job you have. You can't talk to people that way. It's just, just fall short of being a human being, not even being in business.
Anyone defending Joey Whedon after all of this, and as these truths continue to come out, should be ashamed. It is so fucking sad, and to see these tweets still of people defending him even after all of this and after more information about the way he treated Gal, allegedly, as of right now, as of this recording, but even if we get more truths, these people are still going to continue to believe their narrative, and it's really fucking sad, and it looks terrible, especially when you see you pull up these tweets from people who worked on the set with Joss and are saying these things about him. How can you fucking defend that?
Well, the worst part of all of that is, and we're in such a time in this country where we should all be focused on treating people better. Like we've seen so much about it, and we've talked so much about it for months about how you need to protect your fellow human. When you hear these things, when you see these things, and I just kind of feel like we took a step back, and we haven't really. I know there's still a lot of good that's come out of the time that we're in right now. But to see this and said, well, I heard he said bad things, but I don't know. I still like him because he released this entertainment thing that I liked.
Well, it's these MCU sheep that are defending him, and I have nothing to say about them right now. That is not even my fucking focus. It's also the woke crowd that have this false belief that he himself is this woke feminist because of what he did with Buffy and all these other characters and in his career. And then it's coming out that, you know, even while he was working on things like Angel, he wasn't behaving well towards his female actors and crew members. So it's all fake anyway. And then his behavior more recently with Justice League and how he was treating Gal and Ray Fisher and the rest of the crew and other stars in Justice League who are people of color. But you're still going to pretend that this is a woke guy. The woke crowd is defending him when he's clearly doing things against minorities and women. You're going to ignore it then when it's convenient for you. That's where it's bullshit to me. And it's disgusting. It's sad. It goes beyond the MCU sheep at this point.
I very much see how people can feel like when these things happen, it's against them as an individual because, I really supported them and now they've done this thing. And if I choose not to support them, then I'm hurting my pride and I won't be seen as credible. That's not what it is. Do the right thing. Say, yeah, I really liked his movies and I thought he was this way, but he did this to these people. And regardless of if it was a one-time incident or it went on forever, he still did something shitty to somebody. And I need to not be okay with that.
Being true to oneself is one of the most difficult things, and for a lot of people, it's something that can never be reached or can never be done. And I think this is another example of that, as you were mentioning. It's very difficult to do those kinds of things because, as you said, it hurts one's ego, it hurts one's pride. But when it's this black and white, come on, let's just get the truth out there. Let's support the right people. Practice exactly what you say you supposedly support.
I'm sure we'll get some more information as the weeks go on, and of course you will hear it here first.
From here on out, it is all comic book news, and then at the end, we've got the HBO Max editions, kicking things off with one of our favorite people getting a new position at Diamond.
The president of Jeppy Family. I didn't even know it was called Jeppy Family Enterprises.
Yes, of course it's called that. What else would it be called?
Even more mobstery. The president of Jeppy Family Enterprises has stepped away after 12 months in the position, and Steve Jeppy is taken back over.
Hell yeah. Steve Jeppy said enough is enough.
I'm taking back over the family.
Jeppy said in a letter to GFE employees, quote, "Today I am announcing an organizational change that will help us lean even further into the many opportunities to elevate our industry, our business, and our brands in this fast-moving, bullet fast, I might say, and evolving marketplace," end quote. I added that bullet part.
Not drug marketplace, just the regular one.
Steve. The books, the Archies, and the Batman.
Steve. Come on, you don't even have Batman anymore, Steve. Stan Hydeman, who was hired as GFE president in June 2019, joined the company after serving as a financial executive for the software giant PepsiCo.
Steve's back. He's taking it all over again.
Is he a sitcom now? Steve's back and better than ever.
Steve's back and he's mad.
I'm going to run my company my way.
This is the underdog story. I like it. I like
Why?
this.
How is Steve an underdog?
Because people make fun of him for being a Gotham mobster. People like ourselves.
But it's so perfect, and I love him so much more. If he wasn't a Gotham mobster, I don't think I would like him as much.
I agree.
I'd just be like, oh, Steve's taken back. Cool. Great for Steve. But now I'm like, yeah, you get him, Steve.
Make him swim with the fishes. I love this. Cover all that up. We did get a diamond box this week.
Ooh.
Big one.
Uh-huh.
And in the entire thing was a single pack of keychains. I'm like, what else was in here before?
How many keychains?
5 little keychains in a big box.
There were definitely drugs in that box. Can you look at the shipping label and see what weight was shipped?
I don't think I want to dig into that, Kelly. I don't think I would return next week.
Steve's got our house bug now, and he's like, they're on to us. Get out the fishes.
Get rid of him. I wake up and my Superman Red Sun statue's head is in my pillow, and I'm like, no!
Why did he turn into Tommy Wiseau there for a second? Get rid of him, huh? It's not true. Steve, is there drugs in here? It's not true. I did not do it. I did not. Oh, hi, Archie.
We'll see what happens. And he has backing, though. He has backing with the next story from Dark Horse Comics.
Dark Horse Comics CEO Mike Richardson said that his company is sticking with Diamond exclusively for comic book periodical distribution.
A quote here, he definitely wasn't sweating and had no gun held to his back as he was saying that. Quote, Diamond CEO Steve Geppi seems to have a handle on what he's doing, and we can continue to work with Diamond, but we're going to watch. I have a long relationship with Steve and Diamond, and look, they've helped so many stores stay in business over the years through some strong-arming tactics. And it's important to keep comic stores alive, end quote.
And myself. It's important to keep all of us alive.
Oh, I like it. See? He's doing all right. He's already winning. Good for you, Steve. We're rooting for you for the record.
Does Steve have anything to do with some McDonald's pieces?
The Monopoly pieces?
Yes. What do you know about Monopoly, Steve? If I ever meet him at a convention, I'm going to go to a panel and be like, Steve, tell me about Monopoly.
The whole time you're analyzing what he says.
All I'm going to say is tell me about Monopoly, and he's going to be like, I don't know what you mean about Monopoly pieces.
Yeah, that's true.
I had nothing to do with McDonald's or Monopoly. Steve, I didn't mention Monopoly pieces or McDonald's. Why don't you come to my VIP party? Go with my friend right here. He'll take you to it. Never seen again.
Nope, never.
Gone.
More comic books heading our way with Lucasfilm, who have announced plans for a new line of Star Wars comic books based on the Disney Plus series The Mandalorian.
I mean, that's smart.
I think they'll do all right.
Yeah.
The Star Wars line does pretty well for Marvel.
I feel like there's a lot of hype around Mandalorian too. People who weren't even Star Wars fans really enjoyed it. And everybody knows Baby Yoda now.
Yeah, even like we sold so much Baby Yoda that I'm like, there's no way all these people are subs to Disney. There's no way these people even saw the show.
No.
It just became such a meme that people liked it and it was a success for them and it worked out. It's just a mascot character that anyone can jump on.
Exactly. And so I definitely think, slap Baby Yoda on a comic book and you're going to sell a good amount of them, even if it's just Baby Yoda being cute and rolling around and doing Baby Yoda things. You're going to make some money off of it. So I think it's a wise move. When you started reading it and I saw Star Wars, I'm like, nobody cares. And then you said, man, I'm like, oh yeah, Baby Yoda.
As part of the new wave of the Mandalorian products, Lucasfilms plans on releasing these comics under Marvel and IDW. IDW, of course, handles the Star Wars Adventures comics, so they do more of the all-ages stuff. So that's where I expect to see the child books.
These are set to launch winter 2020 and spring 2021.
So we'll probably start seeing them in about 2 to 3 catalogs.
Previews catalogs.
Yeah, from Steve Geppi, Family Enterprises.
You can only see, there's only comic books in these catalogs. Don't take a black light to them. Don't hold them up to an open flame. It's just comic books.
The Archies.
The Archies and the Batman. Poor Steve. We love you, Steve. Invite him to Thanksgiving dinner, please. I brought some of my mother's casserole. Your mom's still alive, Steve?
Oh, she's got to be, right?
Oh, yeah. She's got to be like 120 by now, but let her be.
And she does not approve of his businesses.
She does not. Stevie, my boy.
You're just like your father.
But she stayed married to his father till he died. She just didn't approve. I love his whole family. Invite them all to Thanksgiving.
Jesus, someone's gonna die. Someone's gonna say the wrong thing, or there's gonna be a hit. You just want danger.
I do, and I'm gonna enjoy it till the end.
More from Marvel Comics. According to IGN, they have acquired the publishing licenses to the Alien and Predator comics.
We have a quote here from artist David Finch, who told IGN, quote, Alien and Predator are two of the most identifiable, iconic characters of all time, and I love them for that. But mostly, it's being fortunate enough to be a kid when they were new. I've seen every movie they've been in, and I cannot wait to see them wreaking havoc on the Marvel Universe. I drew my pictures of them with a massive smile on my face, end quote.
Couple of pictures from David. They used these to promote the new line of books, one of which had a pretty standard xenomorph in an alien spaceship or a human spaceship. Really well done. And then there's one of the Predators standing on the Avengers Tower, holding the severed head of a robotic Iron Man. And I'm like, did someone at Disney look at this before this went out? Because I feel like they wouldn't have allowed that.
Steve approved, and Disney was like, all right, we gotta.
Is he bigger than Disney?
Steve Jeppy for sure.
I don't know if I believe that one.
I'm building it up. I am creating the narrative here, and I say Steve Jeppy is bigger than Disney. You see a little red Mickey Mouse laser on my forehead.
Yeah. Marvel's parent company, the Walt Disney Company, of course, recently purchased 20th Century Fox and many of its film assets, including Alien and Predator, which they have yet to do anything with. I don't expect them to do any R-rated films with them. At least we're getting some comics out of it. We were still getting some from Dark Horse, too. And I know we're getting the Predator original screenplay that's releasing. I can't wait to read that. But I'm curious to know as to, like, maybe now was a time where Dark Horse couldn't afford that licensing or Marvel paid more for it. Either way, it always goes back and forth. Even though they own the film rights to these franchises, that doesn't mean that in the future we won't see more books from Dark Horse.
We have no release date or creative teams for this line of books yet.
Here we have an all-new solicitation from DC Comics with the first Batman White Knight spin-off, which is called Batman White Knight Presents Harley Quinn. And it will be solicited in DC Connect number 3, which is the next previews catalog. We had previously talked about these Murphyverse books about 4 months back, I want to say. And now we're officially getting the first solicitation.
And the solicitation reads, quote, in the wake of it all, Harley Quinn is officially off duty, struggling to cope with the loss of her closest confidants as she improvises her lonely and hectic new life as a single mother to the late Jack Napier's twins, end quote.
This will be a 48-page one-shot at $5.99. I really like what Sean Murphy did with the Harley Quinns in his universe, one of which is a modern Harley and one of which is the animated series Harley. The one that had the twins with Jack Napier, and the one who at the end, Bruce and Harley end up falling for each other.
I love single mom stories. I hope it's a romance. Just whole thing romance.
Will we get Bruce helping raise these little twins? Do you want to see that story?
I do and I don't.
I want him to make them Robins just to fuck with the Joker.
No, that's terrible. I don't know. I feel like at some point Harley would stand up for herself and be like, no, like, you're still Batman. You're still running around and doing this stuff. I'm going to take my kids and I'm going to go.
Yeah, but let's explore that story.
Okay.
I want to see that.
What, where she says that?
Yeah. Well, I want to, sure. Well, how their relationship does and doesn't work together with her having the kids and still dealing with the fact that Batman is like the Joker, but on the other side of the coin, right? He's still
crazy.
She fell in love with Jack Napier, not the Joker. And
right.
In this case, maybe she fell in love with Bruce and not the Batman.
I think ultimately at the end of it, right, the story, maybe it's wishful thinking. What I hope it will be is that at the end, a mother's love and what you need to do for your kids is more important than what you feel for yourself personally. And I hope that she grows throughout that and takes her kid and pieces out and finds like herself a nice kite man or something.
I think he had hinted at a White Knight Beyond type of story or a future story. So there's still that possibility where he tells the story of the final years of Bruce and maybe he does, serve that old man Bruce role in the future, or the Joker twins are a part of that story. I don't know. We'll see. I'm excited. There's a lot of potential to this.
There were those twins in Batman Beyond with Grandma Harley.
That's true. That's fucking true.
It's true. I know it's true.
But we also have another Harley Quinn book, but this one, I'm not a fan of how they're handling this, and I think it is yet another sign of these changing DC Comics times for however they're handling the books.
They have announced a digital-first Black Label book called Harley Quinn Black, White, Red.
So this is the first Black Label book that is a digital first, and I don't like it. This title is a compilation of short stories from today's biggest Harley Quinn writers, including the great Paul Dini, Stepan Sajic, Jimmy Palmiotti, Amanda Connor, and more.
The book will be, you guessed it, in black and white with red used selectively for storytelling purposes, which I do love when they do that.
Me too.
It's so good.
Hank Cannells from DC's SVP of Publishing Strategy and Support Services said, quote, each story stands on its own, and this series gives our talent teams the freedom and flexibility to tell innovative stories that could be part of or separate from regular continuity. Everyone has a unique vision of Miss Quinn. It'll be fun to see what their creativity delivers, end quote.
We also have a quote from DC editor Andy Corey, who said, quote, for those asking, yes, there will be a collected edition in print. But digital first offers a weekly rate of release, which isn't likely in print with 10-page products, end quote.
I get that, but you have now created, this is one of my biggest issues with this is they have now created this comic to serve the digital format first and the print format second. That means we're going to get, much like Batman Adventures Continue, the breakdowns are going to be horizontal rather than however the comic artist wants to do, with the different splash pages, with the different panels. And instead they're going to be contrived and stuck to that format. It's no longer going to take advantage of that larger magazine size, that prestige format that we get from Black Label books now. Even if this is in prestige size, that doesn't matter if they're going to keep it restricted to the digital format with the horizontal portions. And this also tells me that their priority, and this book would sell great and will sell eventually when it releases or in print, but it would sell amazingly if it was first released as a physical book without 10-page format as the standard in these stories, letting these creators tell their stories, letting these artists draw their book, and then putting it out digitally, because I think that the sales are going to be comparable if they were to do it with the physical publishing first, and it would have ended up being a better comic overall.
I get all of that, but we're also playing a lot of what if game. We're playing a lot of, well, they're probably going to do it this way, and when they release it, it's probably going to look this way. I think with the big... Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, no, it is going to look that. Like, the Batman, that's the format for all the digital first books.
But they've said that that's going to be the format for this book. They've said those words to you.
They said it's digital first.
I get that.
And they're all like that. Every single one of them are in that format.
Okay, but here's my thing. If you're going to try something new, right? If you're going to listen to that feedback that I'm sure they've gotten from people and do something that they can do in small pieces digital first, because let's be real, if it's not going to be like that and it's going to translate well into a comic book, then yeah, I'd probably buy digital and the physical copy of it, right? Realistically, there's extra sales for them. Moving forward, if you're going to try something new to see if you can appeal to a bigger crowd, you're going to use Harley Quinn for it, and you're going to use these big names, and you're going to use short stories, because let's say you release every single 10-page short story at $1, right? Digitally, and then you compile it into a book, and the book is, I don't know, $7, right? I'm still going to buy the book, and I've just bought every single one for $1. So that's extra sales.
I'll let them figure out the numbers. People like me, and I'm not the only one because I've talked to several of my subscribers at the shop, I can't do the digital thing. I know you can't do the digital thing with the comic books. And I'm going to wait for the physical release and not pay money to get these at 99 cents.
I can't do the digital in the format that they do it now, but I do read digital comics that are formatted differently that I think would also format better to a page than what they do now with it.
Are you going to be buying each of these chapters for 99 cents?
I don't know yet. I might.
You're not going to.
Maybe I would.
I don't think you will. I think you're going to wait for the physical book.
I'm saying that we're playing a really big what if game. If they're using the opportunity to try something new, to innovate what they're doing, which I'm hoping with these big name artists, they're going to push back and say, listen, I can do a digital comic in this format, which will also lend itself well to comic books because I've been doing the physical comic books. This is what we need to do. And they're going to listen to that. You're going to do that with this character and you're going to try it in this format. Again, times are always changing. If you can find a way to evolve and keep moving forward and do something better, then give it a shot.
Well, let's see if it works out for them.
I'm just saying, you're putting the cart before the horse.
Well, this all comes from a place of fear from a lot of retailers because this is the first time that a major flagship title like this would have been for retailers and shops. They're putting the digital format first ahead of brick and mortar. And this is the first time they've done this with a Black Label book. And it confirms the rumors of AT&T, DC Comics preferring the digital format for their comics instead of the brick and mortar, whereas every other publisher, even Marvel, is backing the brick and mortar instead. So that's where a lot of this fear is coming from. And things like this are confirming, like at first I was like, no, we're still getting physical books. It's not an issue. But now I'm like, why are they fucking doing this now? Why now after these rumors are coming out? And if we continue to get these little moves, that's going to make me think, and especially with all this distribution bullshit where they keep pushing these books week after week, obviously their priority is not in brick and mortar anymore. That doesn't bode well for the industry, especially for someone who manages a shop. And this is, yes, me going, and it's all fear, but this is a small piece of that confirming it.
Devil's advocate, I'm going to say that this was probably planned a really long time before COVID-19 happened.
This particular one? I'd be curious to know, yeah.
I'm going to guess that this move was probably planned a while ago for them to set all those pieces in motion and get these people together. They wanted to work on the book. And because when you pitch this to somebody, you have to say, hey, here's the idea. Here's how we're going to release it. Here you go. Is this something that you want to be a part of, right? So yes, these rumors are coming out, and yes, all these things, it's kind of like the perfect storm, right? Like, I would almost say that everything's just kind of happening at the same time, and that's where this is going. But going back to, 12 years ago, when digital comics became a thing, there was also that fear of this is going to put us out of business.
Right.
And obviously, that didn't happen. People still want to go in and get their physical copies, and so I think releasing it digitally first still isn't gonna, people are still gonna go in for the physical copy of it.
They will, but again, that my problem is still in that it's now affecting my physical copy of the book, the digital version, because they're changing it to fit the digital first. And
again, you're saying that.
Well, when the first issue comes out and I show you that the fucking panels are horizontal, then you'll admit that I'm right,
That's
right?
Fine.
And then the next one gets solicited. You'll say, well, that doesn't mean that one's going to be, because that's the same game you're playing now. That's how they did it with Batman Adventures just a month ago. Just a month ago, they did it with Batman Adventures.
I'm just not even going to say anything. Never going to play devil's advocate again. It's fine.
I will tweet to Jimmy and see if it was a previously planned COVID. If it was planned before the deal got fired, I'll be like, all right, it's not a big deal. But if it's a new thing, then I'll start worrying a little bit.
Whatever you want to do. I'm not ever going to give my opinion again.
Well, that's going to make this next segment really boring because it'll just be my opinion as we get what's new on the great streaming service that is HBO Max. This is the July 2020 highlights.
These are just the highlights that pertain to Daniel because I have no opinion. And you can always go on Google and type in what's new on HBO Max July 2020 and get the full list there.
First one here is the sequel to, well, not really sequel, but the second Batman the Animated Series film. It is Batman and Mr. Freeze Sub-Zero. It was previously on DC Universe, now on HBO Max.
This is the one where he has like the spider head, right?
No, this was the one with the polar bears.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember that one too. Okay.
The villain was trying to become Mr. Freeze as well and gain immortality through him.
Can't do it, sir. Sorry.
Next one on this list is another animated series edition with Batman and Harley Quinn from 2017. This is the one that had Nightwing and Harley Quinn flirting and hooking up.
Hooking up. They sure did it.
People didn't like it.
I have no opinion on it, so.
People are going to log off and unsubscribe now. Award-winning podcast. Jeez.
Next up, we have Batman Under the Red Hood.
As much as I don't love Jason Todd, I like this film. It didn't even have any of the original animated series voice actors in them, and I still like this film.
I just remember him being whiny through the whole thing. Like,
yes, it was perfect.
You should have saved me.
Yeah, because he's like, I'm not saying kill the Penguin or the Riddler or Two-Face, just him. And do it because he took me away from you. And I'm like, God damn it, Jason Todd. Like,
you're like, I love this so much.
You're the weakest fucking Robin. and this is all in character. Well done, filmmakers. And I like how Batman just stares at him like, what the fuck did I do?
He's like, what did the Lazarus pit do to you? Next up, we have the Blade trilogy.
The first of which saved Marvel Comics.
Mm-hmm.
And oddly enough, distributed by Warner Brothers. Kind of interesting.
I think I only saw the third one. Did we go see that one in theaters?
No, I think the third one came out before you and I even met.
Oh, well, then I haven't seen any of them.
They are vampire movies. There's not a love story, though.
Oh, well, then no. Trash.
But I think it's kind of cool that a Marvel movie is on Warner Brothers service right now with HBO Max.
Can you tell some Marvel sheep so their heads can explode?
I don't know if they like these because they're not Marvel Studios. They only know Marvel Studios.
Oh, you're right.
The MCU sheep.
All right. I tried. Next up, we have Catch Me If You Can.
Starring Leonardo DiCaprio.
Haven't seen that one either. Oh, but I do remember the poster for it. He's
running. That the one Tom Hanks is coming after him, right?
Sounds so ominous when you put it that way. I don't remember. I just remember him running and it's like a white background, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
that's the one.
I remember it.
We also have Cop Out by Kevin Smith. This is the one that stars Bruce Willis. And it's the film that gave him so much fucking trouble throughout the whole filming, made him almost not want to make any more movies. But it was also one of the first big ticket movies, like huge budget that he did. And because of that, he's done since a lot of smaller independent productions because they are films that he knows he can make. They're films that he wants to see that don't exist.
Next up, we have Dumb and Dumber.
Have you seen that one?
We have.
We both seen it?
We watched it together. I mean, it was okay. It was a guy movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's goofy, it's fun, whatever.
It was dumb.
Low humor,
Dumber.
And just like the whatever. Anyone that says that the movies today are incredibly dumb and stupid, and this comes from someone who likes Dumb and Dumber, they clearly haven't seen the 90s and their movies like Dumb and Dumber.
I do remember, that's when they had the orange and blue suits, right?
Yeah.
I did have 2 kids in my high school who rented those for like senior prom and wore them.
Nice. One of my favorite horror film of all time is The Exorcist, and this one is also hitting HBO Max.
Not scary.
Good film, though. Even if you didn't find it scary, did you like it?
No, because I expected to be scared the whole time, so I was trying not to be scared, and then I wasn't scared, and so I missed a lot of it.
All right, let's watch it again then.
Nope.
Oh, I thought it wasn't scary, though.
There's too much on our list. We can't. Next up, we have Free Willy 1 through 4.
I was never big on these. Like, my neighbor had them, and he would play them sometimes, but...
I watched the first one and I was like, wow, this is really good. And by the time they announced the 4th, I'm like, he's just a dumb whale. He just keeps getting caught. Like, just stay in your ocean.
He gets like a family at one point.
Yeah, and then they kidnap his family and he has to go after them. I want to see the Steve Jeppy version.
Or the David Ayer one, since...
Free Willy.
one of my favorite animated DC films is Green Lantern Emerald Knights. It's done just like the Gotham Knights film, where it's a bunch of short stories, not different animated style like Gotham Knights was, but still their own standalone stories. And this was serving as kind of a prequel companion to that Green Lantern live action film that we ended up getting. And this was awesome. I really like Emerald Knights. Tells stories of many other Green Lanterns, and it sets up other colored lanterns in a way. Like, you get a little bit of Sinestro in there. You get Mogo's who's
awesome.
amazing.
He was the best part.
I highly suggest watching it.
We also have Justice League Doom.
Someone taking Batman's plans if the Justice League were to ever go rogue and putting them into action.
Alfred, someone's attacking the Justice League.
Who, sir?
Me.
Good trailer. I love that trailer.
It's my favorite line of that whole movie.
Another one here is Justice League, the Flashpoint Paradox, especially with all these Flashpoint news for the film. I like the book a lot better, but the film is a good adaptation of it.
Really dark. If you don't know about this and you're going to go and watch this movie, be prepared to be like, what the fuck happened?
Very heavy tone, very heavy themes, much like this next pair of films, the Kill Bill parts 1 and 2.
I've seen some of it. I know that you really, really liked them when we were younger. Haven't seen them myself.
It's got strong female characters in it. Would play well today, I think.
I mean, probably. People still talk about it. People still really enjoy that movie. We also have Mad Max number 1 and 2.
I like the recent one that came out, so I do want to go back and watch these first 2.
Oh, is the recent one the third one?
Yeah.
Oh, that's the only one I've seen. It wasn't for me.
If you're coming off of that high from The Last Dance, you can check out Space Jam starring Michael Jordan on HBO Max.
It's so similar to Last Dance. It's like the same thing. Like,
I feel like I'd enjoy it more because I'm
don't-
seeing it on HBO Max.
Don't watch Last Dance. Just watch Space Jam. Same thing.
I agree.
Yeah.
If HBO Max picks up The Last Dance, then we'll talk about it. But if you have the choice between the two, I would watch Space Jam on HBO Max.
Can you throw an HBO Max a few times in there? We also have Watchmen the movie.
If you're like us and just finished the show, great companion to it would be the film by Zack Snyder. And you and I had talked about watching it again recently.
Yeah, we have after we finish the show, which we'll talk about in the Brocat block. Yeah, definitely something that I want to pick up again.
A manga that I sell all the time now is Mob Psycho, and the first season is hitting HBO Max.
We also have, I believe it's your favorite James Bond movie, Casino Royale.
Love that film. Also, The Predator.
Irony.
I had such high hopes for this one because of the director. He directed Kiss Kiss Bang Bang as well. And this ended up being a comedic The Predator. It was literally if The Predator were in the MCU, this is what this film was. I was so disappointed by it. But if you like the MCU films, check out The Predator on HBO Max. It's right up your alley.
We also have X-Men.
Starring Hugh Jackman. And also, we had just talked about TMNT from 2007. We'll show that one to Leo. It recently left Netflix and now it's hitting HBO Max.
He will love it. He loves his turtles.
As you mentioned earlier, this was just the highlights. A lot of great offerings on this month. And we'll continue to do these each month because we love HBO Max and we do also enjoy Netflix. So we'll keep doing those. And let us know if any of these are ones you haven't seen, but you checked out because it was on the streaming service.
But with that, we do wrap up our news for the week and we can move into our Patreon shoutouts, our thank yous to everyone who helps make the show possible.
First shout out this week goes out to Alexander on Twitter at Swordfish Show. If you go to purpleswordfish.com, it takes you straight to his YouTube channel.
He said, quote, Highlander 1986 has aged really well. Originally watched it in the 90s, revisited it in the 2000s, and again yesterday. Insane concept that was written well enough to forget that it's crazy. Terrific score and interesting cinematography. I'd say it's fair to call it a classic. End quote.
After what Alex has said in the past about Highlander, and then Spoon was streaming them on our Discord, I really want to see these. I saw parts of number 2 from when I joined the Discord with Shane and Spoon, but I didn't catch it from the beginning. And now that Highlander, I think it was where he was streaming it from was Netflix. I'd have to double check, but I've heard a lot about it. I think it's a cult classic from what they were saying, and it's one I definitely want to check out. And Alex keeps talking about it, so it's something that obviously he and I do align pretty well on films, so I think there's a pretty good chance I'd enjoy Highlander too.
Next up, we have Bobby on Twitter at Cuban Slim.
Bobby shared his collection of Pokemon Funko Pops on our Patreon exclusive Discord lounge.
Cool.
Great collection, Bobby. And if you are not a part of the Discord, what are you waiting for? Especially if you're a Patreon backer, that Discord lounge is awesome.
Definitely popping some days. You're just over there giggling in the corner, and I'm like, what's going on? And you're like, hee hee, Discord, hee hee.
It's a quality fucking lounge, too. That Patreon, man, pinky out. It's awesome. It's fancy as fuck.
Do you guys have some music that plays in the background while you're there?
Yeah, it's the dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun, dun. Whatever my middle class mind thinks is fancy, rich music.
I thought it was like some smooth jazz.
That's more sexy time, which is on our not safe for work Discord.
Oh man, I opened can of worms.
Next shout out goes out to John on Instagram at Johnny2Chips. You can also find them on the YouTube podcast called Dom Chiodo Show.
John posted a Jack Kirby classic issue of New Gods number 11. It's a beautiful cover featuring Orion.
John has an amazing comic book collection, so if you love especially vintage comic books, do yourself a favor and follow John on Instagram at Johnny2Chips.
Next up, we have Neil on Twitter at Inmat68 or on Instagram at Inmats.photography.
Neil posted a carousel of the protests happening in Dallas. So I think part of his caption talked about the importance of these pictures, and he was able to go to his local area and document a lot of this through his skills as a photographer. And I think that was huge, especially for his account. And I think he was going back and forth on whether or not he wanted to post those on that particular account, but he said he needed to do his part as well. And for his eye for photography, I think it was definitely a given and something that he should have done and something that he ended up doing, and they turned out great. Awesome carousel of photos at, once again, Instagram at @inmats.photography.
And our final shout out this week goes out to Brian on Twitter at BrianShaup1.
Through a Twitter retweet, Brian answered that Philadelphia is the ongoing comic he's enjoying the most.
I haven't heard of Philadelphia.
I think it's on issue 6 or 7. Okay. I know the first couple of issues went out of print really quickly, but there should be a trade paperback coming very soon. If Brian recommends it this highly, it's one that I'm going to have to check out once it hits the trades.
Absolutely. So once again, thank you, Brian, Neil, John, Bobby, and Alexander for your Patreon support.
If you too would like your shout out every single month, head on over to patreon.com/thereasonsimbroke. There is a link in the description of today's episode, also up on thereasonsimbroke.com. But for just $1 a month, equals out to about 25 cents an episode, you too can get your shout out. We also have a $5 tier where you get decals.
But of course, our show will always be free. Best thing you can do is let somebody know about us. Tell a friend. Add to their weekly podcast hours. You have so many hours, you're always telling me.
That's right. Telling a friend is huge. For word of mouth is the most effective way to promote a podcast. And if everyone can just find that friend that is into the DC universe or into comic books, let them know about the show and they might find something that they enjoy.
And now we can move into our comic book highlight as chosen by you, the Brokettes.
Our voted on comic book highlight is Dragon Ball Super Volume 9, as written by Akira Toriyama and art by Toyotaru.
Is he friends with Totoro?
I don't know, but we did also see that on HBO Max. All of those Ghibli movies are there. Let's talk about Dragon Ball Super, though. This has been, I don't remember if you read the last volume, but this is the end of the Tournament of Power.
Yeah, so we talked about on the show, finished watching the anime version with the Tournament of Power, and then, of course, now getting to read it in the comic books and see a few of the differences. I hadn't read the last one, but I was really surprised. I started reading this. I'm like, okay, Tournament of Power, they're going to level up forever. And then, like, a third of the way through, it was done, and it's like, okay, on to something new.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the manga goes a lot quicker than the show, of course, and I've said before in the past that I enjoy how the manga handles these characters way more than what the show did, especially with characters like Master Roshi. And you, as a huge Vegeta fan, now that you've seen how both of them play out, which one did you prefer more?
I love all Vegetas. You can't make me choose. Coming to the end of the Tournament of Power, I think I did. There's different things that I liked about them. And I don't know if this happened in the previous issue, but the scene where Vegeta thinks of his family and like they're the ones who give him power.
Right.
I didn't see that in this. And I don't know if it was in the previous issue, but I did really like that in the manga, or in the anime. But I did also appreciate in the manga, and of course this is huge spoilers, but where the reason that they can overcome Jiren is because Vegeta puts aside his pride and it's like, no, we're going to work together because that's what we need to do to defeat that person. And ultimately that's what makes him a better fighter than Jiren, because and him as an individual, yeah, he has Goku to back him up, but Vegeta as an individual is a better fighter than one of the best fighters in the universe, in universes,
right?
Because he knows, okay, there's a time for me to really be like, this is who I am and I'm proud of that, and there's a time for me to let go of that pride and just be like, no, this is what we need to do to save everyone.
Putting the world before himself.
Correct.
Which Vegeta has done it more recently, but it's not a part of his character. That's something that anytime he puts, this is why it's so huge, especially for fans like you, when he thinks about his family or his kids, it's not something that was inherent to his character.
Correct.
And that's why it's such a big thing when he does do these things. And that's a huge difference that the show and the manga did. And I like both versions, to be honest with you, as much as I like the manga way more as a whole. But when they ended up making that character Frieza instead, I thought that was a bigger moment of growth for Frieza than it was for Vegeta, because we've seen Vegeta do these things before, and this was a big moment for him too, especially when he's facing someone that he wants to defeat and not have Goku defeat him again. But in the show, it's Frieza agreeing to not only work as a team with someone else. Throughout this whole thing, he's just been doing it for himself and for his best interest. And he's still doing it in a way for his best interest here. But in the show, he doesn't win, risks his own life, because if he would have won, then, he would be brought back, but works with Goku, his biggest enemy, to help defeat Jiren. And here, Vegeta is that moment, although they do give Frieza a nice moment here too, which was great. So that's where I think I like that Frieza growth a little bit more than what we got in the manga. But the manga, the motivation for Jiren was also different, where he wants to use the wish to resurrect his master just to get approval from his master, which he never got before his master was killed. Whereas in the show, he wants to bring back, I believe, his master who was murdered.
I don't remember if it was master, if he just wanted to be the strongest ever so that he could defeat this thing that's still destroying his planet.
Yes,
right.
That's what it was. So the motivations are similar, but I think it's more focused as a fighter in the manga than in the show.
It does move forward pretty quickly from that onto their next adventure, where they're teaming up with the Galactic somethings. I don't know, whatever. That really skinny guy, I forget his name too. Jocko.
Yes.
Teaming up with Jocko to go in, fight this new enemy who was actually broken out of prison by one of Frieza's old soldiers, which I thought was really interesting because he does have a few parts in there. Like, he's trying to escape the Galactic whomevers, and he's trying to escape Frieza, which is why he got this guy. And he's like, you need to give me a wish where I can be on a place away from all of these. But then he runs into Vegeta, who was one of Frieza's guys and is now working for the Galactic thing. And he's like, Vegeta joined them? So it's going to be interesting to see how that influences what this character does. Because it's now kind of fighting with what he's always known, where like Frieza and this Galactic guy are bad, but now this Frieza guy is working for Galactic whomevers. I don't know, man. It's real trippy. That guy's probably like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I guess this villain, Moro, uses magic more than anything and seems to use the life force of entire planets just to fight. And I like that they tied his history to Majin Buu and gave a reason to Fat Boo's appearance. I thought was really cool. And then the best moment in this is when Vegeta, who has done these awful things to the Namekians in the past, has vowed to protect them at all costs, including the child that Moro takes that he wants to feed on. And he saves him, and he says, not even a single Namekian will be killed under my watch because I let so much bad happen to these people.
Right. I thought that was really amazing and a great throwback, because whenever you talk about Vegeta, they're always like, he was terrible. Look, he just murdered all these Namekians. And it's like, obviously you see now this many years have passed and they're trying to right those things.
Yeah.
Because we all still love Vegeta, so you better make it right. But definitely, and again, showing his amazing character growth. Probably if you were to talk to me about any character in any medium and talk about their growth, I would go to Vegeta as one of the ones who has turned himself around, but not only realized that what he was doing was wrong, but is actively trying to make up for that or to be better every day because of it.
Do you think they did that actively, knowing that the biggest critics of Vegeta are the ones that are saying, I can't like this character because he still did all these terrible things, and him trying to be put into this positive light doesn't make up for that? Do you think that they were writing with that in mind, of him specifically saying, I have to protect these Namekians?
I don't know that they were. I don't think, and maybe it's just because I like the character so much, I don't think that they look at him and say, okay, we need to make him look better for people. I think that's just who his character has become through his time on Earth, through, training with Goku, through being married to Bulma and having a family. I ultimately think that's just who Vegeta is now, is he's that kind of character where he's like, I spent all this time trying to destroy and conquer, but I have all these powers and maybe they're better used to protect, because I got like my family that I protect and I should protect them, but like these people also have families too, and these people have been wronged, and I like to fight also, but but also to protect them. So I don't know that at any point I feel like they write Vegeta a certain way to make him more likable. I think somebody saw Vegeta and said, man, there's so much potential here, let's go with it, and now he's just evolved into this is who he is.
I think the biggest change came, for sure, if you look at his entire character arc, he still spent more time being selfish and evil than good so far. I think in Super is when he really made that turn, because even up to throughout the Majin saga, he did not care that he was powering up this villain at the risk of destroying Earth and the people he cared about, because all he wanted was to get that strength to be able to defeat Goku. And it's not until he kills himself for his planet and for his son and his family in that self-destruction move against the Majin Buu that I think that's the moment where something changed within him, where he realized that the Earth matters more to him than his Saiyan pride. I think, at least.
I definitely agree with that. I think we saw small moments of it. So like when he was fighting Cell and he lost his mind because Cell killed Trunks, right? We do see small moments of that change, but I definitely think that that was a huge turning point for him to say, man, I did all this and I'm still not satisfied.
Right.
Like what do I need to do to reach that? And that's when and even within Super, I think it's been a slow progression to this point of, okay, I have pride in my family. Okay, I have pride in all these other things. Like, let me focus on those and what I can do. And that's where I'm going to get my satisfaction from, not being the strongest. And I've looked it up. I know what happens in the next one. But even what happens in this next is a huge jump, I think, not just for Vegeta, but for the writers of the series, what they're doing with his character to really say, okay, he finally got, like, all this has led up to this moment when he finally did what's going to happen next. And you're just like, okay, it's about time.
I'm guessing it's through that hint at the end of Super where he wants to go a different path of strength than Goku's, because he knows that if he keeps chasing Goku's, he's never going to surpass him, or he surpasses him, but then Goku ends up going forward after that. And he attains these levels
on his own,
right, throughout more work, and it comes more natural. He struggles more to get there, whereas to Goku it comes naturally. Right. So he's instead following a different path that maybe is not necessarily easier for him, but is more natural for him, much like it is for Goku. I'm guessing, is that what happens? He attains a different strength than Goku?
Yes.
Scott has told me some of it, where...
Do you want me just to tell you?
Okay, spoiler alert again to the Brocat Core that don't want it spoiled, but they're probably more ahead of it than I am.
Probably.
But from what I remember, Scott was saying that he attains, I think, speed rather than strength. Something about... That's
not what I know. So remember they said in this that the reason that they stopped that one dude, Moro, is because Boo Jr., I don't know what he was like the Great Lord or something, had that power that took away the power that Moro had absorbed from other people.
Right.
So Vegeta learns that skill. Goku doesn't. Vegeta's the one who learns, okay, he's never going to reach Ultra Instinct, but he does have this power where he can take away the powers that others have absorbed from other places.
So now I can't wait to read that in the manga in Vegeta's voice. I've taken away your strength. But maybe I'll let you power up so I can take it away again. No, Vegeta, don't. If he attains this level, you won't be able to take it away.
It's the last time Vegeta's let somebody powered up all the way just to do it. He's learned.
All right.
But I think that's great for them to finally reach a point where they're like, okay, Vegeta's matured enough that he can go his own way and he can get this own power. And really, ultimately, he's going to be the one that saves the day, right? I hope. Fingers crossed. Because he's going to be the one that takes away Moro's power.
If the record shows, I don't know. I highly doubt that.
Stop. This is a big step for him, and I'm very excited.
We'll find out when Volume 10 comes out, and you can let me know as you read ahead on these. But that is our comic book highlight as chosen by the Brocat Core. We always put those up on Wednesdays along with our new comic book day highlights. So make sure to check that out on Twitter at Reasons I'm Broke on Wednesday mornings. Let's head into the final segment of today's episode with what's been going on with Palpa, Kelli, and I this week, the Brocat Block.
Do you want to jump in first? Anything special happen?
Well, we ended up finishing Watchmen, and we finished that
HBO series.
Yes, much quicker than I thought we would. And I think it's because it caught us. We were both like, let's watch the next one. And I think it helps that it was, I think, only 8 episodes long.
Yeah, it wasn't very long. They were almost an hour each.
Sure. But the story itself was engaging enough to have us keep going. And we're people that have read the comics, we've watched the movie, and now we've watched the show. And much like we've read the Before Watchmen books, we've read Doomsday Clock. And I think the show fits more like those other offerings where it's strong on its own and it doesn't affect the original work. It doesn't impact the original work in a negative way either, I would say. And yes, I do have problems with some of the budgetary reasons as to Manhattan's appearance, for example, or some of the action that you can tell, like when the cattle gets mowed down, it's like, all right, that's TV budget, but that's fine. That's not, the story is so strong that you don't care about those things. And yes, I've been spoiled by Zack Snyder's Manhattan on the big screen. Like, that looks amazing. And this doesn't look quite like that, but it is what it is, right? The story itself is still really, really awesome. What were your thoughts on the show overall?
I really enjoyed it. Like you said, I thought it pulled enough from the movies, from the comic books, from those original characters that we knew. And while I don't think that I feel 100% of their portrayals were like spot on,
right?
They still introduced enough new characters where I was like, oh man, this character is cool. I'm invested in them. I want to follow them. I want to see what's going on. And once we really got to that I think it was the last 2 episodes, things would happen. I'd turn to you and be like, it's this thing. Like I was constantly discovering at that point, putting all the puzzle pieces together to be like, oh shit, this is what's going on. And it just got exciting and like high stakes and all this kind of stuff at that point.
The Manhattan episode was like a season of The Witcher, where everything fit in within the episode, which was really neat. And it was done, of course, because it's about Manhattan, and Manhattan's living in all times.
Right. At once.
And he can't change history or the future. He's just, as he mentions, a puppet that can see the strings. He's going through the motions. So much like that episode, we're going through all those different time periods and connecting the dots just like he is. And we're seeing things from his perspective, and we haven't gotten that since the comics or since Zack Snyder's film. And this was done in a different way, but I think still fit in with the character really well.
Yeah, it was really, really cool. I think that some of the directing in this show was so good and I think so impactful. And when we got to that that Manhattan episode, I thought because the one or two before it was where Sister Night is going through her grandfather's memories and she's kind of living in 2 times at once. So I felt like we had already spent an hour of living in 2 times at once. And then we got to Manhattan's episode and I was like, oh, I'm already used to this. I already understand what's going on. And for me personally, him living in multiple times at once, I won't say made more sense because I understood the concept, but it was easier for me to get very involved in that. It was easier for me to understand it. And especially as the episode played out and things would happen, I'd be like, oh, he just talked about that. Like literally, I mean, right now, but also earlier in the episode.
I will say the criticisms I did have with, you mentioned some characters that were not really portrayed how we remember them in even the comic books, were Silk Spectre one. In the first half of the season, she's very unlikable, and that's not the character that we had grown to know throughout these stories. By the end, we kind of figured things out more, and she's not necessarily likable, but we're like, okay, we understand why she is the way she is. But that's one thing I really like Silk Spectre in the books and the movies, and here, unfortunately, they didn't really capitalize on that. And the other was Ozymandias, who is more built as an insane genius, whereas that's not his character. He's almost comedic in this in many ways, but in the comics, he is this self-absorbed, intelligent genius superhero who's doing this for the good of the world. But here we're kind of seeing how he's slowly losing his mind. And yes, that's a part of the story. It has to do with this utopia that he's in. But I personally did not feel that they landed the Ozymandias character quite well. Maybe a bit near the end, but they didn't quite get him still.
I would definitely agree with that. I think there's a certain character that was much more like Ozymandias, which I'm sure they wanted the focus to be on that particular character.
Right.
And so that's why they did that. And yeah, that makes sense. But yes, I think if they had toned down the crazy just a little bit, he would have been a little bit stronger.
I still really like the show. I think it's a great addition to the Watchmen mythos, whether or not you consider it to be a part of the main canon in your head or whatever one you want, whether Doomsday Clock is the Watchmen future you want or the show is the Watchmen future you want. I think it's another great option to it. And I think us as consumers of so far everything Watchmen, it's a solid storytelling. And I think that while it does end in sort of a cliffhanger, kind of like Watchmen did though, but they've already said there's no season 2 coming.
Right.
I'm not dissatisfied with that. I think it ended in a very Watchmen way, just like Rorschach's Journal ends in a cliffhanger, right? Where that's a message in itself, where the world is still going to go mad in spite of him saving the world, Ozymandias saving the world. And here it leaves more questions, but it's not unsatisfying, if that makes any sense, because we know what the ending is.
Right. And I definitely think that the ending, while it is a cliffhanger, still comes full circle from where it was a few episodes ago.
Yeah.
Where, they started outlining what was really this long, drawn-out 3-hour climax to this series.
The other big thing that Papa Kelli mentioned earlier in the episode is that it is that time again with the podcast awards. We're trying to go for the 4th year in a row where we get nominated under Games and Hobbies, maybe our first ever nomination under People's Choice. But if you go to podcastawards.com, click on nominations, you create an account, just needs an email and a password. If you voted last year, you should be able to log in just like you did before and the year before that too. But we are under People's Choice and under Games and Hobbies. So if you go in, vote for us, and then also click on you want to be considered as a voter for the nomination period, and then click submit, that would be huge. It would then, at the end of July, after July 31st, we would then enter, much like last year, the voting period between the people that got chosen to vote for the final result of the podcast awards.
Final order cutoffs.
And then I almost said that. And then whatever committee they have at podcast awards as well. So last year we won for the very first time, thanks to the Brocat Core, who said 3 for 3. And I remember Scott from Lazy Gaming Guys was like, this is going to be the year. He was so sure. And I don't know how he was so sure, but we ended up getting it. And this year right now we're just focusing on being nominated for the 4th year in a row. If we get nominated, great. Then we'll focus on trying to win our second ever podcast award. But all of that being said, there is a link to today's show notes to vote in the podcast awards. We would definitely appreciate it, and we'll remind you the rest of the month. But that all being said, we're still incredibly grateful that we can say that we are the podcast award winning The Reasons I'm Broke, because last year was our first ever win and a huge milestone for us. But like we said last year, we do this week to week, not to win the award every year, but to give you the very best show we can give to the Brocat Core members that are there to give an hour plus of their time each week to listen.
I think you summed it all up. I don't have any other words. Let your friends know. Just send them the link. Just be like, here, vote for this.
Yeah, if you can give us a retweet, and then if someone else has enjoyed the show in the past and feels like they want to vote in and nominate us, that would help as well. What's been going on with your week, though?
So many things. It's been a busy work week. Things have been kind of out of whack for the last 2 weeks, so hoping to get back into a normal schedule, but as I say every single week, the store keeps doing better, and I keep waiting for the week that we don't do better, but we keep doing better, so I'm enjoying the ride while we can. I did discover, and I've tweeted about it a few times, the Magikarp Jump game for my phone. So last week, I think I talked about Pokemon Cafe.
Yes.
That I downloaded.
You were enjoying it.
I was, and then I deleted it.
Gotcha.
I had to get rid of it because it's a puzzle game, which is cool, but and I think it's really meant for Switch. It's a little difficult to navigate on the phone because the screen's so much smaller. And I have a big ass screen, but like I'd go to touch one to make a chain and I'd touch something else. And so I was really finding that I needed to use additional coins for more moves or special items to help me solve the puzzles. And I knew for myself I was going to get to a point where I started to pay for those things. And I was like, well, at this point, it's eating up a lot of my time and it's frustrating me. And I know I'm going to start sinking real money into it, so I can't. It's a really cute concept. I liked a lot of things about it, but it got a little too difficult too quickly. So I went on the Play Store and I just typed in Pokemon. I'm like, let's see what's here. And of course, I talked about the toothbrushing game that we got for Leo, but then there's also Magikarp Jump. And I'm like, what the hell is this? Magikarp Jump. And I guess you've been tweeting it to me, but I didn't catch on because I don't know, I'm terrible. But it's such a simple and fun game. You essentially live in a town that only has Magikarps. You only raise Magikarps. And it's been 80 years since somebody won the Magikarp Jumping League, where they literally just flail into the air to see who can jump higher. And so you just have a little pond and you raise Magikarps and you feed them food and you train them and you get friends that come hang out, like Pikachu, and Famfi shows up sometimes, and Piplups hanging out around, right? And I just raise my Magikarp levels. And once it gets to a certain level, I go and complete in the league. And if I don't beat it, then I retire my Magikarp and I get a new Magikarp. And as my level goes up, I can raise Magikarps to higher levels. So the thing that I really like about the game is super simple, very little strategy involved. One of the most strategic thing you have to do is you get coins and you can upgrade your food and your training with coins. So like this piece of food usually gets me 5 jump points, but if I upgrade it, I can get 100 jump points, right? And you got to spend coins to do that. So that's really the most strategy that's in it. And then you're just feeding your Magikarp and doing stuff. And then sometimes you get to go and look at a tree of fruit and you're like, ooh, do you want to jump and get the fruit? And you're like, yeah, jump. And it's like, I don't know. You know what they say about flying too close to the sun? And I'm like, nope, I'm going to jump for that fruit. And if you jump and get the fruit, then you get like all these extra points. But every 30% of the time you jump for the fruit, a Pidgeotto comes and takes your Magikarp and eats them.
Does Lex then resurrect your Magikarp? And you flew too close to the sun. Now look at you.
No, the Professor Magikarp shows up and he's just like, sorry, he's gone. Like, that's literally what he says. And he's like, okay, well, let's get you a new one. And you got to raise a new Magikarp again.
Does he turn your new one into Doomsday?
It does not. It definitely does not. But a lot of fun. The thing that I like most about the game is, you know, there's a timer. You train them and you got 30 more minutes so you can train them again, right? You get like 3 training points. But you can pull it up. You can literally eat all the food, train them, and go through the league as far as you can in like 10 minutes, right? And so you do that and then you turn it off for an hour and a half or go about your day and then you turn it on in 10 more minutes and you feel like you're making a lot of progress. So it's a really fun, really simple game. Yeah, kind of a time killer, but I really enjoy it. There's little Easter eggs in there. Like there's one training where it's a jump counter and, you know, it pops up and it's like jump counter. And the jump counter says 129, but every time you jump the jump counter, it either says 100, like you hit it 100 times, 500, or 99 billion. And I'm like, 129, what the hell? And that's Magikarp's Pokedex number from the National Pokedex. Like little tiny Easter eggs like that you find and you're like, oh, that's a nice nod to all these other things.
Do they ever evolve into Gyarados or is it literally just Magikarp?
So supposedly, because I researched it at one point, you do have the option to evolve him into a Gyarados at a certain time. And if you do, Professor Magikarp shows up and he's like, we don't need that here. And he takes him.
Give me that shit.
And then you got to raise another Magikarp.
Damn. Just takes your Magikarp.
It's a Gyarados at that point. But he's like, we only raise Magikarps here.
He's a snob.
And he takes
only
them
Magikarps here, sir. Or ma'am.
Boy or girl.
You said that's what they say, right?
Yeah,
the characters?
some guy walks up at one point and he goes, hey there, boy. Girl. So again, a nod to Professor Oak.
You've definitely been playing the heck out of that. Every time I look, you're like, look, and then this guy's fighting this guy, and you're seeing him train and watching. I'm glad you're enjoying it a lot.
I am.
A lot more than the puzzle game, which shocked me.
Leo likes it too. I'll be like, Leo, you want to play the fish game? And he's like, uh-huh. And then he goes and he'll tap the berries for me so that Magikarp eats the berries, and I'll tell him which buttons to press. And he gets a lot out of it too. So definitely easier because he wanted to play the puzzle game too, and then that would just screw everything up.
I think that about wraps it up, though, for Papa Kelly and I. I bought a replacement ring.
Oh, yeah.
I got a silicone ring this time. You got one as well, one that you can wear, I'm guessing, to work?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I do have the ring that I wear to work, but it's heavier than normal, and because it's metal, like it can get heat pretty quickly because I'm touching so many hot things throughout the day. And it's just not comfortable to sleep in, so I take it off in our bathroom before I go to bed, and then I wake up at 3:30 in the morning and go to the other bathroom, and I don't want to come back in to wake you up to go and grab it. So a silicone ring will hopefully be more comfortable for me, and then I can wear it continually.
And that'll be my replacement one after I lost mine in the ocean somewhere.
Quote unquote, lost it.
I ended up getting a gold-colored silicone ring, so I think it'll be my first gold ring. My last one was tungsten, and then right now I'm wearing like a temporary silver. Is that what this is?
Yeah, it's just silver.
So I'm excited for those to come in. And then I had some car issues, of course, where I knew the other shoe was going to drop, I guess. I was kind of saving up some money because of the restaurants being closed. Scott and I usually go out to Uno's. And so I haven't been going out as much since this whole thing has been happening. So because of that, and we've also been eating at home more than we would normally. So we've been saving money that way. So I was like, all right, well, let's see what's going to happen. And then, of course, I had some car trouble and the car was taking longer and longer to start up, but now I took it in and, nearly $300 later, the
there it was.
Spark plugs are replaced, and hopefully that does the trick, but we'll find out. That's basically what happened to me this week. There's a very small shipment due to Marvel's every other week release. There was nothing this week. There will be next week. And then DC's books got pushed a week or two now. So it was a tiny release week, which it is what it is. And whenever the books come out, it's going to be a huge shipment week. I won't be happy with that, but at least the totals will be awesome the next day. But that's all I have for this week.
Yeah, I don't have much more. I'm starting a new class this week. Oh, I haven't told you this yet. It's called Habitable Worlds. And I was like, whatever. And I guess the whole project is I have to go find a planet that can house life.
Good luck.
Yeah, I'm like, okay. But I did get my final grades back from last semester, and I got a 100 in one class and a 96 in the other. So
very nice.
Proud of myself.
All right, Brocat Core, and with that, we're going to wrap up today's episode. Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at ReasonsI'mBroke, and also on our all-new Facebook page, facebook.com/ReasonsI'mBroke. You can find the link at thereasonsi'mbroke.com, of course. But I've been Team Aqua Grunt Daniel.
And I am your Emperor Papa Kelli.
And Brocat Core, all will be well. I didn't include this in the show notes, but Shane and some other Brocat Core members were pointing out the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive pops for this year. Mm-hmm. And Raul Al Ghul is getting a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive Funko Pop.
You gotta get him.
I don't know if there's ever been a Ra's al Ghul Pop. I don't know of one. But he's got his sword out. He's got his green suit on. No shirtless Rage for this one.
That'll be
maybe in the future.
An exclusive one.
But this one will be an Entertainment Earth exclusive, thanks to Shane, who gave me the heads up on that one. But I am thrilled that I'll finally get a Ra's al Ghul Pop. They also did one of the Schumacher, Mr. Freeze, Batman and Robin one.
Okay, awesome.
But the exclusive version is Arnold, and it's glittered.
Shiny Arnold?
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's like literally the best pop that they could make.
Better than Ra's al Ghul, huh?
I don't know. They're pretty close. Glitter Arnold Schwarzenegger? Like, I would never think that it's Mr. Freeze. I would just be like, here's Arnold at a glitter party.
Do you have any one-liner that can go with glitter? Is that possible to make? Can you kill anyone like that?
Yeah, have you ever inhaled glitter?
No, I haven't.
That shit never goes away. You're finding it for years.
That always scared me as a kid because my art teacher in elementary school said, and I was always warned about glass. Whenever glass broke, like, hey, don't walk anywhere because it'll cut you. And the art teacher said, be careful, don't get this glitter in your eyes because it's just small glass. And I'm like, oh, shit. And I was told, to me, I, for my whole life, I've never liked glitter on my hands or near my eyes or anything because I was afraid of that shit getting in my eye and cutting out my eyeball because it is little glass. And now it makes me want that Mr. Freeze Pop even less. I don't want glass in my eye.
Like, it's like glitter that's fallen off of him?
I don't think so. I'm sure it's a part of the molding.
Yeah.
But I don't trust it. Because every time there's those, like, Hallmark cards and shit, I open it and there's fucking glass now on my shattered slivers of glass now on my fingers.
So you're telling me I can't get you a Hallmark card with glitter on it?
I'm not a fan of it. Not a fan of it. You can blame my elementary school teacher, my art teacher.
It's all her fault, calling it glass. She was probably just telling you it'll act like glass in your eyeball.
Very dangerous. And I never...
Glitter's not glass. It's definitely plastic.
Is it for sure?
I'm pretty sure glitter is plastic.
Because I always wondered how this was a big trend with girls in junior high. They would have like glitter on their face. And I was always like, there's no way some of that does not get in your eye.
I mean, I'm sure some of it does get in. I'm pretty sure it's just plastic. I don't think that we're putting glass on our face because glitter is one of the like most polluting things ever.
I didn't know that.
And glass breaks down, but I'm pretty sure glitter never breaks down.
Glass on our face.
Yeah.
When you put it that way, I like that. Glass on your face, you big disgrace. Glitter on cards all over the place.
Singing, we will cut you.